So we are in Boston, and as you can see, we also have a new set, which I didn't mention last week. And I'm sorry, we're in a new room. We moved locations. And we have this beautiful view of the Boston skyline behind us. And I wanted to, this sort of reminded me to bring up something that I've been wondering for a while. And that is Boston, and for those of you that live in Boston, is Boston too small of a city to be single in? And I asked that question, and I throw it out there as is, just to kind of see what the response is. I have reasons for asking the question and angles, but I just wanted to get an initial reaction of whether or not it was too small of a city. Now, Sarah, you're in Boston. You're single.
I am.
So, do you have a reaction to that question?
There are so many ways to answer that. I think that once you kind of find your group and your niche, it might be harder to branch out of that. I think people get very stuck in their neighborhoods and their groups of friends. So in order to meet new people, I have to initiate a lot of branching out and a lot of, I'd like to meet so-and-so.
Right.
And so now it doesn't seem as small. But yeah, I do run into people on the street, and you do realize, oh, this person knows this person, and circles get small.
Right.
So if you want to make it seem bigger, you definitely have to put in some work. Otherwise, you can get stuck in your little bubble.
Okay. Do you think that it's small more from a standpoint of harder to meet people, or becomes a little tricky because you see the same people out?
Both.
Okay.
Although, I think that you just really have to be willing and in that mindset that you're not going to talk to the people in the room that you already know, especially, I do a lot of entrepreneur events and things like that because I have my own business and everyone's starting to look a little familiar.
Right.
But, so yeah, it can definitely be challenging when people start, crossing your path
Sure.
many, many times over. It's tough.
You find, I feel like, I don't like saying these kinds of things, that Boston's too small of a city to be single. And somebody that firmly believes that you make the best of where you are.
Right.
And, anybody that says there are no good single people in Boston or whatever, I always just dismiss and think that they're copping out. However, I've had some experiences where I've said to myself, ooh, it's a big city, but it's a small city at the same time. And where I've run into people or seen people that maybe I didn't really want to at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And especially since, I don't know, one thing I've noticed the last few months or year or so, there's a lot of good new places in Boston to go, a lot of fun. I'm very impressed with the lounges, the bars and stuff that have popped up, some great places. But everybody knows about them and everybody goes to the hot spot. And it's not like New York City, which is huge, and there are 80 hot spots. There's a handful. And so you end up seeing a lot of the same people, which can get a little bit tricky, I think. That's the reason I brought up the question. Not so much because there weren't enough single people or hard to meet single people.
Right.
I've had some very sticky experiences.
Uh-oh.
So that was what prompted me to.
Although my friends in New York say the same thing.
Really?
But even in big cities, if you get stuck in this pattern of going to the same spots, the same brunch, the same bar, you're going to run into people. And that's just, I think that's for wherever you live.
Yeah, you have to be, well, let's actually, before I say any more, let's get to some feedback that we got from people.
Right.
First, let's show a tweet. We tweeted it out. We got a response. We got a few responses. Yes, and let's see, what else does it say? Let's see. There was more of that tweet. Oh, yeah. Not enough ways to meet new people and too easy to run into people you've already dated. So I agree with the second part. The first part, not necessarily on board with, but obviously Deb has a different opinion and other experiences, which I totally understand. We also had a few responses. Actually, let's show this video response first.
Okay.
Tim, do you think Boston's too small of a city to be single in?
I don't think that at all. I think Boston's a huge city. It's one of the bigger ones. We're actually lucky to be out here, But yeah, there's, bars everywhere. If you wanted to, you could meet a new girl every weekend if you were trying to do that.
Is that what you do?
That's not what I do, no. But yeah, that could be possible. But no, not too big at all.
That's
So
Tim.
He does not think that it's too small of a city. He thinks that there's lots of people you can meet here. So.
And a very handsome guy,
Very.
Tim, right there. And
Absolutely.
so he, I'm sure, is out and about. And so he didn't think so. Let's see. Another response I got. Not at all. It's only small if you make it small, but if you act like a DB, it probably gets smaller a lot faster.
That's true.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
a good point. It's a small, big city. You have to be more strategic. Have your places that you go for people you're more serious with, places or towns. So, like, I guess, if you're maybe, if you're dating and you're not committed to anybody, but you want to sort of keep things separate.
Oh
You have
God,
to,
this is yeah.
Don't pretend like you've never been in that,
If a guy asked me out to some very obscure
not
place
obscure, but like.
off the beaten path because he didn't want to run into his
No,
serious
not
dates,
like, not
that's not
Revere. I
okay.
mean, like Cambridge.
Yeah.
Like, it's out of the city. It's out of the.
That's my neighborhood though, so
okay,
for me,
well, that could be,
I would run into people no matter where I went.
Yeah. So, don't take Sarah to
Don't.
Cambridge if you're worried.
Be careful.
I think if you take the city as a whole, then no, not too small. But given that a lot of people tend to hang out in the same general subsections of the city, then there's a good chance of running into exes or people you've previously dated. It's probably also a function of how long you've been single and your age. For those that think Boston is too small, what cities would be better? I mean, which is a good question. Yeah.
It is. But I think because I come from a small town in South Carolina where I really run
Right.
into everyone everywhere and everyone knows everyone's business, this, to me, Boston seems like a much, much bigger place.
Right,
So I guess
right.
it's all relative to what you're used to.
I think also when the person said you have to be more strategic, sometimes it's good to find out where people are going to be before you make choices. I'm just saying.
So you want to stalk the people you
I'm
don't
just
want to
saying.
run
I'm
into?
just saying. Sometimes it's good to find out before you decide where you're going.
Or,
Don't look at me like that.
Or you can be nice to people and not have crazy exes running around who want to come sabotage your date.
Well,
Is that what we're talking about?
I'm not talking. No,
You're
I'm
being
not talking about
very
me.
coy.
I never talk
Oh,
about
of
me on
course
the show.
not.
I'm
He's
always
being
talking
very
about somebody
coy.
else. It's always Kyle's stories that I just pretend I live vicariously through Kyle. There also are positives because it can be a city of second chances in a way where if there's people that you want to run into, someone that you meet and you had a connection with and for whatever reason you didn't get the number, you didn't whatever. You can see people that you can see people like that out again and you get a second chance.
That's
so
a very
there's
good
actually
point.
there is a positive to that. Okay. That's Boston. You can make your own decision, but highly recommended for you to get out and have some fun in the city and decide for yourself if it's too small or if it's big enough.